Hill climbing is one of the most popular forms of motorsport. Drivers compete against the clock over a tarmac course, typically around 1 to 1.5 kilometres long. It attracts a whole range of cars, from road-going saloons to specialised single-seater racing cars. The British Hillclimb Championship is the pinnacle of the sport, with over 150 drivers tackling 14 events around the UK, including Northern Ireland and Channel Islands. The contest for the title of British Hillclimb Champion is dominated by powerful race cars, with reigning champion Wallace Menzies driving a Gould single-seater powered by a 3.3-litre Cosworth engine designed for the Indy race car series in the USA. The BHC Cup runs alongside the main championship and is fought out between a wide range of cars, all running in classes of similar type of vehicles, from road-going saloons all the way through to specialised single-seater race cars.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're back again. Been up the paddock doing some more research, and this is the practice day for the British Hillclimb Championship that actually is being live streamed by Rich Danby on HillClimb.TV. I don't know whether we're running now on the live stream, but either way, my name's Chris Ponsford. Welcome to Harewood. Today, the practice day, we have got some competitive action this afternoon with the Porsche cars, the Porsche Championships, and they have just had recent finishes, and I can update you with those in a second. The ones following, so we can see if you're watching on the live stream, you see them on the hill. But at the moment with Harewood, it's the longest hill we do in the British Hillclimb Championship. About 1,400 yards long. We're situated in North Yorkshire, near Leeds, north of Leeds, and it's a very technical hill. We've got 4 rounds of the British Championship here this year. We've already done 2, and we've got 2 more tomorrow. So it's very much of a premier event. The most recent championship cars were at Doon in Scotland, and their next round is at Wiscombe in Devon. So a few more rounds to go in the championship. It's very close at the moment. We'll update you with the positions of all that in due course. So at the moment we're still on the practice runs, and I've just had an update from Leslie of how it's all going to run. So today, time runs will be for classes 14, 42 and 26. Practice 3 of the British classes A1 to M. Then there's 2 time runs for classes 14, 42 and 26. Then time run 3, classes 14, 42 and 26. Tomorrow we will be having practice in the morning for classes 14, 42 and 26, and then practice for all the British classes. Then we'll have maybe a possible additional time run for the inter-club classes 14, 42, 26. Then we'll probably break for lunch. Then after lunch, this is tomorrow, there will be time runs for the British classes A1 to M, which is then 14, 42 and 46. Followed by the first British Hillclimb Tin Top Runoff, and then the British Hillclimb Championship Top 12 Runoff. And then we will have possibly an additional time run, but then we'll have more time runs, followed by the second British Hillclimb Tin Top Runoff and the second British Hillclimb Top 12 runoff. So tomorrow is the big day for all the championships and timings, but today we will have the round of the Porsches. As I'm looking at the box now, it's pretty windy out there at the minute. We've got a little squall of rain just coming in, and it is very windy, so hopefully that's not going to last too long, but it might create a little bit of consternation amongst the cars and drivers. Generally, when the track is damp and a little bit wet, you'll still see most of the cars running on slicks, particularly the single-seaters. But it has to be really, really extremely wet for them to put the slicks on, because the wet tyres, if it's a dry track, it just rips them to shreds. This is quite an abrasive surface at Harewood, and already you can see the cars are taking it a lot steadier. They've probably still got good levels of grip at the moment, but obviously if you're a driver, it does look pretty dodgy out there, and you're thinking the levels of grip are not good at all. So there we go. At the moment we've got Ewan Bruce just coming into view here at Farmhouse, and he's in a little 1400cc front-ending MGZR. Popular little car, quite popular amongst the rally boys. It's all about cost at the end of the day. Cheapest way you can to get into motorsport, and this, it's got a nice little twin cam engine in it, handles very well, and relatively cheap. Now just seeing up there, going up the straight there, he does 57 miles an hour up the straight. The very quickest of the single seaters will be pushing over the speed trap on the finishing straight before Quarry Bend. They will be pushing around 120 miles an hour. But when the weather's like this is quite squally out there at the moment. Very windy, not particularly warm, and obviously wet. So not very pleasant conditions for anyone to be watching in. Very unpleasant for marshals to be having to work, because our Orange Army do an amazing job. They're out in all winds and weathers, and without them we wouldn't have the competitive motorsport that we have here today. So big up to all the marshals, thank you very much indeed, doing a fantastic job. We've got the start line crew, we've got timing officials up in the office up at the top there, we've got all the medical crews, we've got the officials on the hill that run the meetings, and in fairness we need all those. Most of them are volunteers. Harewood is essentially run by volunteers. I don't know of many paid staff here, so they do an amazing job. There's an awful lot of work goes on behind the scenes here. So all the volunteers and marshals, thank you very much indeed for, and particularly staying out in weather like this now that is quite unpleasant. So what we're hoping, we hope we have a nice, everyone behaves themselves this afternoon, we don't have any major incidents or problems, and we will probably get a couple of time runs in today, but everything is flexible in motorsport and hill climbing. There's you never quite know what's going to happen, but I see on the hill, actually right at the bottom of the hill just started, is the big Volvo. That's Martin Hindley in the Volvo T5. We've got a big yellow car. Now you don't see many Volvo estates hill climbing, but back, I think it was in the 80s, 90s, we had the British Touring Car Championships, and the Volvo was very successful. The Volvo estate in the hands of Ricard Rydell. Keep an eye out for the Volvo. He's just coming up to Orchard at the moment. Big yellow Volvo. This one actually what started off life red, and it was rescued basically because Martin is he is a spanner man at the Huttons of York, I think it is. He's been there for many a year. He certainly knows his way under an engine of a Volvo and all the suspension, and has had this one for a while, and each year he does a little bit more to it. It was painted in yellow, but I think it's going to go next year into the touring car colours that Rydell was racing, and I think they're going to put a wrap on it, they call it these days. They won't actually paint it. Now the weather is very unpleasant right now, so make sure you got your coats and your brollies, find a bit of shelter. But on the hill, coming around Farmhouse now, that's Anthony Spate in the big Nissan 350Z. So if you're joining us on the live stream, and I don't know whether you're on or not, but Rich might tell me when he starts living, put something on the screen so we'll know. Weather is absolutely chucking it down at the moment. We've got Pasquale Abruzzese, the BMW M3. He's an engineer, local man. Did say he was a property developer, but I spoke to, I think it might have been his son or somebody assisting him this morning. Open top car here of Richard Patterson, the Sylvia Striker, the 2-litre red top Vauxhall engine in the front of that. That can't be very pleasant driving that in this weather. He'll be followed by Pete Vincent in the Vauxhall VX220. And this car, as you can see, it's coming around Farmhouse Bend now. This one's in black. Successful cars, these VX220s. They're Vauxhall engine, mid-mounted, and usually the colour you see them in is very often yellow, but that one's in black. And quite a rare car now, worth quite a few quid. So a lot of these cars you're seeing on the hill now. We've got Adam Warren in a beautiful Mark 1 Ford Escort. Here he comes around farmhouse. You can see it in that lovely orange colour with the black stripes on it. The RS2000 Mark 1 big wing shell and a Ford Cosworth engine in it. Give it an extra bit of go. Beautifully turned out car, and very wisely he's taking it fairly steady up there because a lot of value in these cars these days. Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escorts, of which there's another lovely Mark 1 coming up the hill now of Derek Jones. Look at this one, that looks beautiful. He was talking to me earlier, he said you either like the Mark 1s or the Mark 2s. Well, I think I like them both. But this one is in a plain white colour scheme with the big wing shell on that one. Beautifully turned out car. Took him several years to put it all together and get it all spot on. Here comes Tom Vaughan in the little Westfield. This is Ford Z-Tech engine in the front of it. The Z-Tech engine's popular. The Rover K series engine is popular. There's quite a lot of engine choice amongst it. And he'll be followed by Mick Davey in a fabulous Mark II Escort, which is just approaching Quarry Bend as we speak. Again, he's taking it steady. This car started off light. He has had this car for many years, and he rallied it for many years, both forest rallying and tarmac rallying. And here he comes now. He's converted it to a hill climb spec, so he'll have lowered the suspension, probably stiffened it all up. Very well sorted. He drives a white van delivering glass, of all things. And you can imagine a white van driver with glass on board. What could go wrong? Anyway, he's been doing that for absolutely years. He's gone up to the top of the hill, and he's gone up there in 56.12. So the pace is obviously down because of the very wet track. Well, it's getting wetter and wetter now, and competitors now amongst the big classes will be deciding whether or not to keep slicks on or to put wet weather, because you could get in a queue down the bottom and have wet tyres on, and then by the time your run starts the track could be really dry, which in fact Lindsay Summers was telling me earlier, the wet tyres can get ripped up when on a dry track. So tyre choice is very difficult when you don't quite know what the weather's going to do, and also how long it's going to last. So the majority of them, even in the big single-seaters, will be running on slicks even when it's wet like this, because they still get grip on soft slicks on a wet track. So it's got to be rivers of rain, I reckon, for them to put the wets on. So we just had Glenn Collier go by in the little Davrian, the little rear-engined car. It used to be built in, when they first built the Davrians, they were built in somewhere in Wales, and then they morphed eventually into what they call the Darians, which is a later version of them, which are still mid-engined, but with some of them have got much bigger engines, big BDAs and BDGs and Millingtons and all sorts of. There's the odd V6 one too, I think, with Nissan engines, Nissan V6. So we've got waiting down on the line. We've got a little delay at the moment. So let me just catch up on bits of paperwork I was given at lunchtime. I've got some additional info for our runners and riders, which I've got to put into order. So it's always very helpful as a commentator when we get information about the cars which we're commentating on, because obviously the drivers know a heck of a lot more about them than we do. They probably own them for many a year. They've probably spent many a happy hour working on them. So the more information we have, and we thank you for drivers for giving us the information. So if this is your first time at the Hill Climb, welcome to the British Hillclimb Championship. It's an incredible event. Looking at the marshals on post there, most of them got all their full leggings on, their hoods up. Slight delay on the start, whether they're just waiting for something to be sorted out further up the hill, perhaps. I'm just going to put these into order again. Give me 1 second. Right, back in the game. So, I've just been sorting out my commentator sheets that I was given to update at lunchtime. Tomorrow, I will be joined by Steve Wilkinson. Good afternoon to you, Steve, if you're watching at your Southport lair. He is the regular commentator here, but he's stepping down towards the end of this season. He will be still joining me next year on the British Hillclimb rounds, and also will be joining us on the Vintage Day as well. So good afternoon to Steve. It does appear we are live streaming all over the world. Evening all from Bathurst, Australia, 10:40 p.m. Michael Burke, good afternoon to you. So yeah, it's very exciting for us actually to know that we're being live streamed all over the world, and we're bringing this, well, Rich Danby is bringing you on HillClimb.TV. He's been bringing this service now for a while. He goes all over the country. He live streams on the British Hillclimb Championships, and he also does one or two other speciality events as well. Slipping and sliding, yes it is, John B. Yeah, hello from Matt and Glenn Wild Day, both new to the channel. Welcome aboard. So yeah, Rich brings this on HillClimb.TV. You can, well, it's free to subscribe. It won't cost you anything to watch it. Just like and subscribe. The more subscribers we have, the better it is for Rich, and the more he can bring to the channel. Also, there is also, if you fancy paying a few bob towards the channel, you can pay it from 99 pence a month, and that's not obligatory. But if you fancy helping Rich bring this great service to you, 99 pence a month is the basic one. There's a £5.49 and a £12 a month. And that will all basically promote the Hillclimb Championship, promote hill climbing, and enable Rich to bring this service to you. Because I know for a fact he has to get here very early, but I don't know how he does it. Puts all these cameras up the hills, which you'll see on your live stream, get them all working, and then broadcast it all over the world. Quite remarkable. So big up to him. So yeah, welcome aboard. So we're doing mostly practice runs today. There are some time runs later on with the Porsche runners and riders. Some of these cars are dual driven, and at the moment we've got the Lotus Elise of David Wilson on the hill, car 740. At the moment he is down the hill at the moment, down near Farmhouse. And I have to tell you folks, I have a mass of paperwork. We do this. Information is king, but collating all the information, well, that's sometimes quite challenging. Anyway, so yeah, Steve will be with me tomorrow. Tomorrow is the big day. We will have some practice runs, but we will have those runoffs, top 12 runoff for the British Hillclimb Championship, plus the tin top runoff, as we call it, which is saloon cars with hard roofs, but they're not quite as you might think the average saloon to be. we've got cars with up to 800 horsepower that started off life. Damien Bradley's car started off, his Subaru Legacy, started off life as a shopping car he bought from an old lady for 500 quid. And has now turned it into an absolute weapon of a car that holds hill records all over the country in the Balloon Car Championship, or the Tin Tops. But he has some close competition. Stephen Moore is here today. We've got Robbie Birrell. We've got Jim Herbert. There's the two Evos, Jim Herbert and Stephen Moore. And Jim's, I think, has got about 650 brake horsepower. Stevens is certainly pushing 700, if not more. Those are four-wheel drive cars, and of course they're extremely useful things to have when the conditions are like this. This is when the four-wheel drive cars will shine. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on. So we got the Cayman of Mark Lawrence just going by me now, and he'll be followed by the Austin Mini of John Wood. Now, if this is the one I was looking at earlier, yes, it is. It's the orange Mini of John Wood. He comes down from Scotland. He rolled this car a couple of weeks ago, so if you look at the back of it, it's looking a bit worse for air. But it's a very, very rapid little Mini. 1388 series engine in it. It's got a BMW cylinder head on it, so it makes it into a twin cam Mini, and that makes for a very potent thing. Now, I know that he was a big rival here to Eric Murray in his Imp, and don't know when he's coming up, so I thought they were next door in the paddock. So where's Eric? Okay, we've got Ben Hamer on the hill in the OMS. Now Ben is in the 750cc Kawasaki engine in the back with a turbocharger, and it makes for a very, very effective class. He's in the up to 1100 class because he's got a turbocharger, so he's got a smaller engine, whereas most of the ones in the 1100 class are running the Suzuki GSX-R engine, and Stuart Bickley is probably the quickest man in that class at the moment. And you won't miss Stuart because he has a bright yellow Force, fluorescent yellow actually. Yeah, here comes Ben Hamer, the Kawasaki engine one. Listen to this go. Spray of water behind the wheels there, always a great sight, and very well indeed. A 6147 for Ben. Stephen Morgan will be seeing in his little Empire 3 shortly. He's in a bright blue one. Blue Empire, very brightly coloured car. Out from now, I can hear the car. So again, most of these cars are just practicing for tomorrow. And it's a regular thing at Harewood. We can have up to 3 and 4 cars on the hill at once. See now, the wind's blowing the rain away and the sun's starting to come out. So hopefully the wind and the rain will dry it off fairly quickly and they'll get back to normal conditions. Very tricky for drivers when it's in and out. So there goes Stephen Morgan in the Empire. 80 miles an hour up the straight, so it gives you an idea. So they come out of Farmhouse, they floor it then, and the speed trap is just before the corner, and the quickest cars can get up to about 120. 70.60 for Stephen, and we've got now Kirsten Dodd, Matt Ryder's fiance, and Matt is the hill record holder on here. So Kirsten's fiance, and she's driving the Formula Ford. And I suspect that Caroline Ryder is also going to be driving this car later on. Caroline is the mother of Matt Ryder, our current hill record holder. So we got here this weekend. We got 4 times champion Wallace Minges. He's here this weekend in his beautiful Gould with the big Cosworth V8 engine. He's won the championship the last 4 times, but he's got some very stiff competition this year. We've also got Sean Gould here. We've got Will Hall. We've got Alex Summers, who's I think he's leading the championship at the moment in the Firestorm. He's here today. It's certainly all to play for. And Matthew Ryder, he's going very well, but he did have quite a bad moment at Chelsea Worlds recently. But the car has been rebuilt and he's back competing this weekend. Again, damp conditions, but it can change fairly quickly here, particularly with the wind and the sun. I don't think the temperature's up to much at the moment. I suspect it's about 15, 16 degrees, something like that. Somebody might be able to tell me the answer to that one, I don't know. But we're still in practice, in the Formula Ford practice. So these aren't time runs for the Formula Ford. But I will just go back to those Porsche ones and just have a quick look at some of those times there if I can find them. Right, I've just found some of the times here for the best class times in the Porsche Championship, and the fastest here today so far was David Hilton in the Porsche 996, who did a 63.19. Richard Andrews did a 63.51 in his Porsche 718 GT4, and then these are the modern Porsches, obviously got bigger engines, much more horsepower. David Dyson did a 64.79 in his GT3, and then Wayne Eason in his Porsche Boxster, an excellent 64.86. Ian Wadsworth did a 65.34, so the times are very close. His Porsche 911, so that would be old style 911 air-cooled engine. The 944 of Stephen Jory, that one I think runs the 3-litre 4-cylinder engine, and that's the 65.74. Geraint Evans in the original 911 3-litre Carrera did a 66.55. Mel Spear in that Porsche 964 Carrera 2 Cup car did a 68.16. And Graham Rose in the Porsche 924S, which is a highly modified car. It looks more like a 944, but it is a 9244, very worked engine. I think it's got a supercharger on it. Did a 68.53. So the times are provisional, but it does give you an idea. And I'm just looking at the class record holder, and that is Tim Barber in the 996 GT3 RS, and that was back in 2023, so that was a 60.58. So with the damp conditions, obviously they're not able to go their full pace, but that gives you an idea. So that's the Porsche class, and now we go back to our live timings and our recent finishers. And just looking quickly through it there in the little Formula Fords there, Kirsten Dodd was a 76.70, and Paul Harris was a 76.23. And at the moment we're in the cars on course. We've got Steve Carter has just finished in his Nissan 350Z, a 68.97. Robbie Birrell, have I seen Robbie? Is Robbie coming to me? Here comes Robbie Birrell up the straight here. Extremely rapid driver. That's about pushing 500 horsepower in that Porsche. He had quite a moment at Loughton Park recently where he tried to climb the tyre wall. But anyway, he's back competing. He did tell me at lunchtime he's got a fair bit of work to do on the car at the end of the season underneath in the floor pan, which won't be cheap. Anyway, here comes John Pick in the AMS Mattia. Here he comes around Farmhouse. This is a four-wheel drive car. It's based on a Subaru Impreza, so it's like a lighter kit car version of a Subaru Impreza, so it's got all the right bits, and in the wet it's got to be a very good combination bin. So John finishes there in the Mattia 69.14. Here comes Stuart Wood again in this highly developed little Mini with the BMW motorbike cylinder head on the top. It's a lovely conversion. It's an expensive conversion, but nevertheless it certainly gives those little A series engine a lot more poke. Now we mentioned Eric Murray earlier to you about the Hillman Imp. This is a turbocharged Hillman Imp. You'll see it in a minute with a green and black. Eric comes from Leicester, been campaigning this car for years, and extremely rapid. I think he holds the class record in this, if I'm not mistaken. So we're in the modified cars up to 1400cc. Here comes Eric up the straight now. He goes through the speed trap there at 81 miles an hour, so he's certainly not hanging around. He will be followed by Stuart Reid, who's come down from Scotland in this very, very modified Peugeot 205. You'll see it now with white body with the red stripes. Be very interested to see the times that Stuart sets against Eric. But there goes Stuart. Well driven little car. So he's approaching the finish. What sort of time is he going to do for us now? So his previous time, 73.58. So his time before lunch was a 62.90. So obviously the conditions are a lot wetter. Well, hang on, let's get this right. So on the live stream, it's telling me 62.90 for Stuart Reid. But I'm not convinced that was the time just then, because that might have been the time before lunch. Still practice times. Stuart Stelling did a 64.14 in his Escort earlier. And here comes the Triumph PI with a 4-litre straight 6 Australian engine in it. It's got a huge amount of power. It drinks petrol out of the triple 48 Webers like you wouldn't believe. It's unbelievable. But really nice to see that car. That's kept over here, but he works in or lives in Australia most of the time. Andrew Norris just goes by in the 911 Carrera. That's a car I see regularly on the Midland Hillclimb Championships. I think it's a 3.3 air-cooled engine, and I think he's running a supercharger on that one, which is quite an unusual combination. Comes Jeff Twemlow in the Subaru Impreza. Jeff is a long-time competitor. He travels all the way up from Cornwall to compete. He's had this Impreza for some while. I think the engine had a freshen up over the winter. Struggles a bit with his health. He had a COVID jab recently, which would have affected him. But anyway, good to see Jeff out. I think he did a 76.43. Now, I think we're getting into some really serious motor cars here in this little class. We're going to have Damien Bradley, we're going to have Stephen Moore, we're going to have Jim Herbert, Stephen Darley, who's sharing Damien's Subaru, the Legacy. And currently on the hill, we've got Hayden Spedding in the glorious old E-Type. Local man, his sons are here today. And we've also got the Formula Ford. Yeah, here comes Hayden Spedding coming out of Farmhouse now. Don't see many E-Types. This is a very well modified car with a soft top on it. Classic Jaguar engine in the front of it. Big, I think he's got a 4.2 in that one. Must be quite a handful to drive. So we have Jonathan Williamson has just left the start line in his glorious 911 Carrera. And we will have, I think we've got lining up on the start line, we should have even more, and we're also, I think Ivan Price is likely to be down there as well in the Skoda Fabia. So Stephen Moore has just left the start line. Jonathan Williamson in the 911 Carrera is heading our way. He comes up from Devon, long-time competitor. Was sharing the car with Laura Wardle, but I don't think Laura's quite fit. She broke her wrist, I think, earlier in the year, and is still recovering. And Jonathan actually had that engine rebuilt. The first time in over 20 years it got rebuilt. And obviously it's a nice fresh engine. The car is an elderly car. But here comes Stephen Moore. So Stephen Moore, car 76 in the Mitsubishi Evo 6. Highly developed car. Talented driver. He's a farmer from near Salisbury. About 700 horsepower in that car potentially, but he probably dialed it back a little bit today because conditions are a bit wet. And he will be followed by Damien Bradley in this fabulous Subaru Legacy, this highly developed car. Four-wheel drive, massive amounts of horsepower, great brakes. Stephen Darley, I think, helped or did build the engine, I believe. Stephen's sharing that car with him. But here comes Damien. I think he's in property developing down Kent. You can see the car snaking about even as it came out of farmhouse there. So there's so much power there. Just looking at the times. $66.39 for Damien. 69.98 for Stephen Moore. 76. So we're now into the racing cars on the hill. So we've got Alan Warburton on the hill. We're in the racing cars over 1100cc up to 1600cc. The quickest this morning was Richard Spedding, a 51.12. Followed by David Warburton with a 51.24, and Jason Tunnicliffe, Little Empire, which is a 1000cc turbocharged car. He did a 53.54. Alan Warburton did a 53.75. So conditions are different this afternoon. The track times are way down. So here comes Alan Warburton in the Gaul GR59. So there's this development car, I was told by Sean, for the GR59 big cars like Wallace Mingus is driving today and Sean himself. This one runs a 1600cc Suzuki Hayabusa engine. So it's a bike engine car and extremely rapid. And David Warburton has got that car into runoffs, and I think at Doon, I think he qualified 5th or 6th and was well in contention in the main runoff, particularly when it gets wet, when the big cars can't necessarily get all the power down. So Alan finishes in a time of, or does he not? Has he not finished yet? So we'll be keeping an eye on that class. The class record holder for that class, by the way, is 48.59 to Richard Spedding in the the Raptor. Beautifully turned out car, and I think he's in the Raptor today. So 48.59, and this morning his quickest time was a 51.12. So yeah, I think you'll find tomorrow, there'll be a long word, depends how wet it is really, and how quickly they can go, but at the moment, it's currently not drying. The wind's blowing quite hard. The sun's out. So hopefully, if we're really lucky, we might get a dry afternoon. Fingers crossed. So welcome to the live stream. If you've not watched us before, we're at Harewood Hill, which is just north of Leeds. So we're in the north of England. And this is a very well established hill climb. This is 1,400 odd yards long. It's the longest hill that they compete on, British Isles, and a very technical hill. The Matthew Ryder is the hill record holder, and he's here today in his gould. So currently on the hill we've got Andrew Colborne in the Van Diemen. This is an O2 car. It's a beautifully presented car. It's, if you notice on the car, it's got Maynard Motorsport. They're based at Stroud. He works with them. He had his own engineering company. He knows all about racing cars. And I also found out that at lunchtime he follows my fishing exploits because he's an expert fisherman himself. He was telling me some stuff at lunchtime, places that some big fish in that I didn't know how big they were, and he told me. Anyway, this little Van Diemen, this is a highly worked Ford C-Tech engine in the back of it. It's always beautifully turned out, and he's here with his son, and he'll be up later. Moment we've got, so that's car 832, and we'll be followed by Einan Price in the Skoda Fabia R5. Einan is a very successful rally driver, now turned hill climb driver, and he bought this because last year he had been campaigning a force with 1600 bike engine in the back very successfully. And if it ever was wet, Einan would be right amongst the big cars because he was supremely quick in the wet. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes in the R5 here. Four-wheel drive, turbocharged car. Always goes well in damp conditions. So Einan will set a marker down to see what we can do. So what's he going to show us? Now, Einan finishes in a 65.42. Alan Warburton in the Gaul did a 64.76. Damien Bradley a 66.39. As we have coming into view, we've got Matthew Price in the Radical, another bike engine car, pure little racing car. This one's a very rapid example. It's got about 270 brake horsepower and a very, very light body. He comes from the Midlands, and is going quicker and quicker. This is, I think, is his second season hill climbing. Very good driver indeed. He'll be followed by David Bickley, which is Stuart Bickley's dad, and David's got a much smaller, well, it's the same size engine but much less developed engine. So it's again the Radical again with the Hayabusa. Here he comes now, the sun's shining on him very nicely indeed, and he will be followed by Simon Bainbridge. You can probably hear it now, the Kronos, big red Kronos, a big Audi engine in this one, absolute beast of a car, unique looking car. I've never seen another one. Coming around Farmhouse, you listen as he puts the foot down out of the Farmhouse. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? 85 mile an hour up the straight there. It's up towards the finish. Roger Moran will be following him. I can see him down there in the distance down there, down by Chippies, and coming already around country, heading up towards Willow. Roger Moran, father of Scott Moran. Scott Moran isn't here today, but Scott, his son, has won the British Hillclimb Championship 6 times. Roger has also won it in the past once and runner-up on another occasion. Anyway, he's got a business selling motorhomes at Ludlow. This is one of his fleet of cars, and the one he drives mostly these days, the Skoda Fabia R5. Four-wheel drive, about 300 odd brake horsepower. Proper rally car, and he'll be followed by Duncan Barnes in the Norma. So here comes Duncan Barnes in the Norma. This is one of the most competitive cars to have in the European Hillclimb Championship, where the hills are longer. And this car has a Honda turbocharged engine in the back of it. It's got approximately 500 horsepower. absolute beast of a machine, and he drives it very well indeed. He's also part of Wallace Mingy's team, and can be seen spannering and fettling Wallace's car as well, joining Tom New, well, Toto New as we call him. Alan McDonald. Here he comes, Alan. Alan is in the little Force sports car. Here he comes now around Farmhouse. Motorbike engine, absolute demon quick little car, great car and driver. Comes all the way down from Scotland, and I've seen him come to Prescott of a daytime on Saturday, drive all the way home Saturday night and then get back for Sunday morning because he needed a part for the car. That's dedication for you. Talking about Scotsman, we've got Richard Matosian. Here comes Richard in the little GWR Raptor. This used to be owned by Robert Kenrick when Robert Kenrick was setting class record after class record in this car. Motorbike engine, it's got a BMW motorbike engine in that one. Absolutely rapid thing. Richard comes from Scotland. Lovely to see that little car on the hill. And he'll be followed by Will Kerr in the OMS 28. So you'll see this one, it's got a wrapped colour scheme on it, like the dark green. 750 turbocharged Kawasaki motorbike engine, extremely rapid, 84 mile an hour up through the speed trap there. Next we'll see will be Tom Morgan in the Empire Evo 3. This is Farmhouse and ended up going on the inside of Farmhouse onto the grass, but he's out of the car. He's okay, and I don't think there'll be much damage to the car. He didn't hit anything, he just slid straight down onto the grass. So there will be a slight delay, so it gives us a chance just to have a look at some times, see what's happening. Say good afternoon to all of you tuning in, great to see you. And so the sun's out. We're at Harewood Hill, north of Leeds, North Yorkshire. This is a round of the British Hillclimb Championship, and also the round of, well, 2 rounds actually tomorrow of each, the British Hillclimb Championship and the Tin Top Challenge Championship. So that's exciting stuff. The Tin Top Challenge is a new thing actually for us, so we haven't really had much of that before, so it's great to see those really fast saloons getting a chance to have their own championship and see who wins. Now the quickest on paper at the moment has been Damien Bradley. He holds hill records all over the country in that big legacy. We've got a few cars just coming up, just coming by that were already on the hill. They will get reruns while they sort out Tom Morgan's car. So, just looking back here, so what can we see? What can we tell you about? Let's tell you about some of the finish times in these damp conditions at the moment. Now, these are pure practice times, but Matthew Price did a 69.44, 75 mile an hour up the straight, and David Beckley did a 75.10, 72 up the straight. Simon Bainbridge in the big Kronos did 86 mile an hour up the straight and a 66.01. Roger Moran in the Skoda Fabia R5 with a lot less horsepower did a 85 miles an hour up the straight, and he was a 63.86. So the 4-wheel drive with the skills of Roger Moran, that was very quick, 63.86. Duncan Barnes in the Norma did a 66.56.81 up the straight. Alan McDonald in the Force, a 67.71, 77 miles an hour. Richard Matosian in the Raptor did a 71.34, 78 up the straight, and Will Kerr in the little OMS 28 with the Kawasaki engine, 84 up the straight and a 64.64. So quick stuff. Tom Morgan will have a fail. Gary Warren in the Empire will have a rerun, and David Tatham in the DJ Firehawk will also have a rerun. So just looking back through some of the classes, if we have a look, these are practice times. Let's just see what we get. Right, so at the moment there's only the Porsche classes are available for times. All the rest don't count, but tomorrow we will have, so just the Porsches for timed at the moment. So at the moment they're just getting, they're pushing Tom's Little Empire there now. They've got the big blue tow truck, so they'll probably put a tow rope on the front of it and whip him up to the paddock and we can get going again. So we go back to our live timing. Yeah, everything's good. So this afternoon we're going to have some more time runs from the Porsches. We're going to carry on with our practice runs for the British Hillclimb Championship. Lots of competitors literally here just for the enjoyment of competing. And tomorrow I will be joined by the one and only Mr. Steve Wilkinson, who may well be tuning in, having a little looky. Hope you're enjoying it, Steve. We hope all the rest of you are enjoying it. I'll just bring up to speed. This has been put on by Harewood today. And if we look here, so Tim Wilson is the chairman, actually, of the BARC Yorkshire Centre. So it says, Harewood, this is out of your programme. If you look on page 4, Harewood welcomes drivers from around the country competing in the British Hillclimb Championship, 2 rounds of the 2024 Porsche Club Speed Championship and the BARC Connaught Speed Championships this weekend. It's Motorsport UK British Hillclimb Championship, presented by Nova Motorsport, returns to Harewood for the 2nd time this year. Alex Summers has an impressive 16-point lead in his DJ Firestorm, ahead of Will Hall and Matt Ryder. Matt Ryder is the current Hill record holder of 46.39, and Nicola Minges, who is also here today, she holds the ladies' Hill record of 50.74. Can they fall even lower? Well, in these conditions, no. But who's to say? What's the weather going to do tomorrow? Is it going to be a dry day? Well, we'll see. We've got two runoffs for the British Hillclimb Championship. Points will form the highlights of Sunday's competition, but expect stirring action too within the individual classes, including the competitive Porsche and BARC Connaught Speed Championship. If the weather is good, several class records could fall. The Motorsports UK British Hillclimb Championship Cup, presented by BMTR, follows the British Series around the UK, and the top drivers are all competing at Harewood today. So we've got them all here today, folks. The championship's currently led by David Warburton from Stuart Bickley and Robbie Birrell. So Robbie's in the Porsche, Stuart Bickley is in the Force, and David Warburton's in the Gould. It also sees the opening rounds of the Tin Top Challenge, sponsored by AET Turbos, which has been expanded to 10 rounds for 2024. So thank you to AET Turbos. That's the place to go if you want your turbos sorted. What they don't know, it's a family-run business, been established for many years, and it's been expanded to 10 years, that championship, which is great to see. I remember he was telling me earlier, let's see, they have been involved with turbos on Damien Bradley's legacy. Yeah, so thank you to them. We always appreciate our sponsors. And just to give you an idea, so we said that there's lots of officials that help run the hill effectively, but today the Motorsport UK steward, the chief steward, is Phil Short. Phil Short used to be an incredibly successful rally co-driver in WRC, and also rally car development company, from my knowledge. The event stewards today are John English and Rod Parkin. and they do a very good job keeping an eye on everything and making sure everything is up to scratch. And the clerk of the course today is Mike Healy. He's the national clerk of the course, and Richard Hardcastle is the interclub course. Deputy clerks of the course are Michael Patchett, Keith Davidson and Sam Walker. Yeah, Sam Walker. Good to see Sam out again. Sam is a young steward, and the secretary of the meeting works incredibly hard is Leslie Gein, and entry secretary is Jackie Wilson. Chief Marshal is Mike Shawley. Chief Scrutineer is Peter Bruce, and Chief Timekeeper is David Clay. Now, massive big up to all our marshals on course today. You'll see them all there on their posts in bright orange. Do an incredible job. Without marshals, we would not run the hill, we will not run competitive events, and they give up their own time to do this. They're voluntary marshals. They're out in all weathers. If you ever fancy becoming a marshal, you can go on Motorsports UK website and they'll tell you how to go about it, or if you can collar a marshal afterwards, they'll also tell you. It's a brilliant way of seeing competitive motorsport at close quarters. Full training is always given, and there's lots of things you can do within the marshal circles. There's no restrictions, girls, boys, doesn't matter. I think you have to be over 18 to go on posts on the hill, but you can still do an amazing amount of work in the paddocks, because all the cars have to be marshalled around the paddocks. They have to get them to the positions to get them onto the start line. So incredible amount of work there. We've got obviously we've got medical staff on site as well. It looks like we're away again. Caroline Ryder. I always struggle with her name. Caroline. It's Caroline Ponzi. Get it right. Okay. So she's in her little Van Diemen that Kirsten Dodd was driving earlier. This is a Formula Ford, 1600cc Formula Ford. Incredibly popular cars to get into motorsport, and they were more popular amongst the circuit drivers. The idea being that you could have a car that was basically the same. You're all driving pretty much the same car, different makes, but all running the Ford 1600cc engine. They're running on road tyres. And in fairness, the times are very competitive for it's a proper little racing car. There's no downforce, there's no wings. So incredibly good to learn on, basically. You will really feel everything through the steering wheel of that car. So Caroline is off up towards the finish. Are we going to get a time for Caroline? Over here, so Caroline has... Sarah Bosworth goes by in her Van Diemen. There's always a very close battle there between Sarah Bosworth and Caroline. So Caroline finishes in a 70.46. Sarah Bosworth just going off up to the finish now. Over the finish line yet. No time for Sarah yet. Will be followed by Jimmy Harris. Jimmy Harris is in the Van Diemen as well. That was a very well-known maker of Formula Ford cars and racing cars. Anyway, in the 1985 Van Diemen, very well-driven car, always goes well. Here's Jimmy Harris. 75 through the speed trap. So, have I got a time for Sarah? Sarah Bosworth finishes in a 66.27. Goodness me, she's a lot quicker than Caroline on this occasion. So, but tomorrow is when it really matters. These are still practice runs. Jimmy Harris finishes in an 86.04. Well, something must have happened to Jimmy Harris there, because he's normally a lot quicker than that. So either he had a moment down the hill, a spun and got going again. Either way, it matters not. It's still a practice time. Rob Spedding in the Vector. Another one of the Spedding clan from Barnsley. Rob's always a potential class leader here. So Sarah Bosworth, a 66.27. That was a very good time. She did a 63.01 earlier, and Jimmy Harris earlier did a 61.51 earlier. So in fairness, the 86, obviously something happened there. So it gives you an idea that in that class, Jimmy Harris did a 61.51 earlier and Rob Spedding a 61.66. So it gives us a little clue what we might be getting to see when the conditions are hopefully good tomorrow. Here comes Sandra Tomlin. This beautiful old Pilgrim MP97. It says 03, but actually I think she was telling me that's a 2013 car. She owns that car. She's had it many years. Got a 4-litre Judd V8 engine in the back of it. It's probably one of the last of the big competitive Pilgrims, which really dominated hill climb racing back in the day, but now it's all about the Goulds at the moment and the Firestorms. Talking of cars, we've just had Simon Mather go by in the AMS P4T. This is the car built by the Summers family, and this car was built in their garage, effectively, into an absolute weapon of a hill climb car. It's already got in top 10 runoffs. Home built car, runs a Opel V6 engine in it. As Bernard Kevill comes on to us now in the OMS 28. V8 engine in the back of that one. Bernard's here with Simon Andrews, probably. I think Simon's here today. They come up from Worcestershire. And they've also got a Formula Ford car as well, which some days, early season, they tend to bring the Formula Ford out to get their eye back in before bringing the big car back out. Lynn Owen is on our way up to us now in the OMS 28. The OMS cars, they're built in York. There's quite a few OMS cars here today. She'll be followed by the current ladies' hill record holder on the hill, Nicola Minges, in beautiful Gould GR55B. Here she comes now around Farmhouse. Nicola comes from Scotland. Husband is Wallace Minges, 4 times hill climb champion. And this car has a rich pedigree for hill climbing, as used to be owned and driven by Martin Groves. He used to hold hill records all over the country on the hills. Still a very competitive car and will almost certainly make the runoff, and in fact it's quite capable of doing a very good time. David Tatham just going by. Dave Tatham, he's a farmer. He was here last meeting with Dad's old McLaren M6A sports car, which he set a class record in, which stood for years. So David's it's David here. Yeah, that's David just gone by me, and this is Aaron Colborne in the Van Diemen. Father and son combination. Aaron, this one, he's been going very well in this car this year. I watched him at lunchtime having a chat with him up there. They would just pat the heat gun on the tyres, getting the crud off the tyres that they pick up on the previous run. And he will be followed by Sean Gould, who's just coming into Orchard, back into Farmhouse straight. Here he comes. This is Sean Gould, who builds these fantastic Goulds. Wow, that is absolutely flying. That's 107 miles an hour through the speed trap. This car has been extensively rebuilt after a big incident at Shelsley Walsh recently on the last HillClimb Championship. Anyway, it's back out running and going very nicely indeed. Sean Gould, he did a 49.31 earlier. In fact, he was second quickest this morning in the 49.31, and Matthew Ryder, who shares the car with him, did a 48.66, and Matthew is our current hill record holder. Will Hall did a 49.91 earlier, and Wallace Minges did a 50.04. But again, these are just a little guide as to see how things go and setting the car up ready for tomorrow, when they'll be doing competitive runs and doing run-offs. So just having a quick look where we're at the moment. So the quickest car, so Aaron Colborne was through the speed trap at 100 miles an hour. Sean Gould was 107. So the times are getting quicker, the track is drying. And we've got Gary Warren just left the line in his little Empire Evo. I was chatting to Gary earlier. He comes down from Scotland. He had a metal fatigue moment at Shelsley Walsh recently when something broke on the back of the car. But anyway, that's all been sorted out. So Gary, in his little motorbike engine Empire, I think he told me he was about 50 years old, and for the last 25 years he's worked in the oil business, in the respect of like an oil engineer. Here comes Gary. This car is chassis number 2 of the Empires. So this is one of the very earliest Empires. It's got a big scoop, air scoop on the back of it. And he's through to the finish. So that was a 54.57 for Gary Warren. Will be followed by one of the most beautiful cars you'll see on the hill today. The stunning Chevron B19 of Amanda and Richard George. Amanda George is Richard's daughter. She lives in London. He's been competing in this car for years, as has Richard, who owns the car. Here she comes now. It's got a 2-litre engine. It used to be owned by the famous Swiss Formula One racing driver Joe Siffert, and it's got the Eiger Racing colours on it. Beautifully presented car, absolutely stunning, and an absolute treat to see that car on the hill. Amanda goes through there. She's in the sports racing cars manufactured up to 1971. 68.13, and father Richard did a 67.89 this morning. Amanda will go up to the top of the hill and will swap over with Dad. He'll jump in and have his run, and he's got to beat a 68.13 on a drying track. So, okay, I do think we may have a slight problem. Gary Hill, I saw him go through to the finish. Gary Hill as Gary Warren. So Gary Hill in the OMS 2000. May have a little incident, so we marshals will be sorting that one out, and then hopefully get it sorted and we can get back into action. Just looking, I can't quite see. I need a pair of binoculars, I reckon. Cars have been held on the hill. So in the racing cars 1100 to 1600, the quickest this morning was in fact Richard Spedding with a 51.12. David Warburton did a 51.24, and Jason Tunnicliffe in the Little Empire, that he was sharing last year, and he was also part of, with Zach Zammit as well, of the Empire Wraith, that Empire Wraith that we up later on. No, is it one here? Yeah, sorry. William Luffridge is racing, but now, so his share in that car is now gone, and he has got a little Empire Evo, which is actually only the very latest spec car, so it's got all the right bits on it. It's in black, with a little turbocharged Kawasaki motorbike engine in it, and that puts him, the 1000cc with a turbo puts him up to the 1600 class. And yeah, he's enjoying that this year. He travels up from Wedmore in Somerset, and if any of you travelled up to Harewood yesterday like I did, you'll know what fun and games that is, getting up the M1. Takes an awful long time. I think a lot of us had 5-hour journeys just from the Midlands yesterday. So the M1 car park, not so good. Oh, we got Wayne Penrose. Good evening from a chilly Shell Harbour, Australia. Jill and I are enjoying the live feed, loving the commentary as usual. Thank you, Wayne. You're a good lad. You're a good lad. But Wayne was here recently in his Super VW. He came and brought his VW. He shipped it over from Australia. It took 2 months to ship the car over. It's Wayne Penrose VW. He specialises in air-cooled Beetles and various VWs, mostly air-cooled. I think that's his speciality. Anyway, got the car shipped over here, and he ran it here for the first time. And it's a 550 odd brake horsepower at the wheels VW Beetle. It is actually not quite a Beetle as we know it. It's rear-engined. It's air-cooled. It's a very special car, and Wayne shipped it over, and he competed here. He then took it to Gurston Down, where he did have a problem at Gurston Down. Namely, he went into the gravel trap and had an impact. The car then, because bearing in mind he doesn't live here, it was then repaired that week in the Forest of Dean, then was taken to Shelsley Walsh, where he competed at Shelsley Walsh, and then he then went off to Australia. So what I'm talking about, he went off to Germany to like a super VW thing, Germany, and took it over there, and I don't know if it was a competition or just displaying the car, I'm not quite sure, but either way, believe I'm right in saying, and I hope Wayne could correct me, the car is currently being shipped back to Australia, where he can compete in the Australian Hillclimb Championship, of which he's won the championship a couple of times. So if you want to know anything about VWs in Australia, air-cooled, Wayne Penrose is your man. Now here comes the car that went off earlier, but there doesn't appear to be a lot of damage. It's been pulled by the tow truck up the hill. So it won't be long before that's back into the paddock, dealt with. Probably be out later on. Looking at that, looks in okay. Fingers crossed. And we'll be back competing very, very shortly. Yeah, so that was Gary Hill in the OMS, so he will have a failure there. And then we will be resuming again. Now the sun's out. It's windy. The sun's out. It's always windy at Harewood. It just goes with the territory. Just make sure you bring an extra hoodie, an extra coat, and you'll be fine. Great burgers and food to be had up at the Garrison Grill at the top of the hill there. And also coffee to go, highly recommended. In fact, if you want to bring me one down, you're very welcome, but I don't suppose he'd be here. Probably falling on deaf ears, but I know they're lovely. So I did, just at lunchtime, grab another cup of tea up at the office there, because I'm very much of a tea man. I love my tea. Not much of a drinking man, but I do enjoy a cup of tea or coffee. That's great. Oh, another thing we see here, by the way, is have a look in the sky. You might see some red kites floating about, because what tends to happen is that when at the end of the meetings every day, the kites suddenly turn up, because they know that lots of people have lost lots of little bits out there, sausage rolls and burgers and things like that, and they seem to know where people are sat, and they know that's where they'll find little bits to be had, so they come swooping down. So I think last time I saw 8 at the end of the last meeting. I was sat up there quietly, and red kites have been reintroduced into Britain now. They used to be very common, but then they gradually got wiped out for whatever reasons. Whether people were shooting them or not, I don't know. I hear revving cars. We're back in the game, folks. We've got Mark Schlanker in his Force TA. Mark is on the hill at the moment. He's currently heading down towards the S's, and then heading towards into Chippies. Mark Schlanker was driving in the up to 1100cc class last year, but this year he's got in the 1600 class. He's got Einan Price, who's driving the Skoda R5. This is Einan's old single-seater. It's a 1600cc motorbike engine, Hayabusa engine, running on methanol from memory. And Mark's a very tall gentleman, but very slim, and he's thoroughly enjoying the extra power and great handling of this little car. He's gone through the speed trap at 93 miles an hour, so the track is definitely looking pretty drier now. I reckon the wind has dried us off now, so that's pretty good news. Mark heads off up to the finish. He's just about to finish. There was a slight delay when we get to the finish times, but we'll come back to that one Yeah, in fact, a 58.23 for Mark Schlanker. And looking at our times, so yeah, that puts him in 8th position in that class just on practice times, but it means nothing. Here comes Darren Gumbling. Comes from the Midlands in the Team Valley. He's driving his Force TA. He's actually, there's a moment going into quarry there. Hopefully he gets his way around there. I can't see that on the live stream. And he's got Paul Jones is driving that car with him this weekend. They're both from that neck of the woods. Robert Capper is heading on his way up towards us now in the Empire Wraith. He's currently down at Country Corner, heading up towards Willow. Here he comes now through Orchard. Robert Capper, he's in the legal profession. He's keeps the car at Windsor on the Thames, and he lives, I think, in London. And that is a beautifully presented Empire Wraith. Love the colour scheme on that one. One of Bill Chaplin's specials. Bill Chaplin builds these Empires down in Somerset. I haven't seen Bill for a bit, but I hope you're doing well, Bill, and tuning in. And we'll catch up with you on your next visit up. Another one of Bill's creations is Jason Tunnicliffe. He's on his way to us now in his little Empire Evo 3. This is the, oh my goodness, tail out slide there in Orchard. Coming down Farmhouse straight into Farmhouse. Here he comes. Motorbike engine, turbocharged, screaming up there. Goes through at 105 mile an hour up the straight. Gosh, that's quick. Quick in that little Evo, little 1 litre turbo car, 105 mile an hour up the straight. 63.94 for Jason Tunnicliffe. Good driving, good driving. The track is drying. David Warburton in the Gould GR59. 1600cc, runs on methanol, bike engine in the back. This class, very, very rapid driver. Top 10 runoff driver. Just looking for a timer there. So then we'll be seeing Richard Spedding, local man Richard, who's currently leading on practice times in this 1100 to 1600cc racing car class. Richard, local man from Barnsley. You'll notice the colour scheme on this car is really bright. He's done a wrap on it. Oh, there's a red kite to the left of my commentary box, just quartering there, looking for some grub. Here comes Richard. Look at the colour scheme on the nose here. Oh, lots of lovely wrap on the front there. Look at that, pretty car. And quick driver too. Okay, Richard, so what do we got here? So just looking there, so David Warburton finished in a 61.39. The speed trap doesn't appear to be registering the speeds at the moment. Richard Spedding finished in a 61.38, so only a 100th of a second difference there. We're now into the racing cars over 1600 class. The quickest was Jonathan Varley this morning with a 51.25. Here's John Cottrell in the lovely, lovely Pilbeam MP82. Stunning looking car, beautiful colour scheme on it. Beautiful car. That one's running, I think, a Millington 2 litre in the back of it. Millington engines in Shropshire. And here comes Andy Bogard. His Force PT comes all the way from the Channel Islands to compete. Usually sets off on about a Wednesday. Got to get ferries across. Anyway, Andy's back with us again, which is fantastic. And he'll be followed by Jonathan Varley in the GWR Predators. Graham White built this car. This was the car that when Graham had the car, it was fitted with a V10 Formula 1 engine, and it was an absolute rocket, but it was incredibly hard to get off the line. But when Graham drove it, he drove it fantastically well. It was a very famous car. But then Jonathan bought the car, and it was fitted with a Terry Davis. Oh, he spins at the top there. It's a straightforward spin, just approaching quarry at the finish. In fact, he spun it and he's now driving it back up towards the finish. So no major dramas on the car, just trying a little bit too hard at the top there. he'll go through to the finish. So as I was saying, Jonathan Varley, when they fitted this 2-litre Terry Davis V8, Terry's here today with his wife Tricia. He builds these V8 engines. William Lothridge goes by in the Empire Wraith. That's the current latest spec Empire Wraith. That's the one that he shares with Zach Zammit from Malta. Good afternoon to you, Zach. I believe somebody said you're over for Prescott for the next meeting. He will be followed by Pete Tatham in the OMS 28. Tatham brothers, and Pete's feeling a bit off colour this weekend, so he said he's going to enjoy his weekend, have a bit of fun. He said he thoroughly enjoyed his run before lunchtime. Immaculately turned out OMS 28. Steve Owen builds these cars in York, and as always he's here this weekend with his wife Lynn, and he's always very busy dealing with customers' cars if they've had a little moment or two and need some parts. Often he has to shoot off to try and get some parts from wherever his unit is in York. Here comes young Paul Crute. Paul Crute in another OMS 28. This one's got a Jaguar V6 in the back. It sounds absolutely fantastic. It's got the Jackie Stewart Racing colours on there, the old Jaguar colours that they raced in. The engine came out of a road car. It's only got about 300 horsepower, I say only, but compared with some of the single-seaters here today in the big class that have 700 horsepower, he's obviously down on power, but thoroughly enjoys his driving. He comes all the way up from Cornwall as Morgan Jenkins comes into view inside Tomlin's beautiful Pilbeam. That is good, just stunning looking vehicle. 115 miles an hour through the speed trap. That's the quickest I've seen today. The sun's out, the times are getting quicker, and we're not even competitive yet. So that all goes well for tomorrow, when we should have a fabulous day of hill climbing. Richard Summers. Here comes Richard in the AFS P4T. The Summers family built this one. Alex was the brainchild behind it. They built it in their own garage in the Team Valley, and to create your own car from scratch that will compete in the British Hillclimb Championship and get in run-offs is an incredible achievement. But Alex is a brilliant engineer too. Okay, so we got thick and fast Simon Andrews in the OMS, another OMS 28, so obviously, and then we'll be followed by the boss of OMS, Stephen Owen in his OMS 28. So the OMS is the top spec, and the most successful driver of the OMS is lost a bit of transmission there as Stephen Owen comes into view, the OMS, and will be followed by Harry Pick in the OMS 28XD, which is the Indy Cosworth engine in the back of it. Harry Pick comes from Leamington Spa. He's on the hill at the moment. Very, very rapid car and driver. Latest spec. Trevor Willis. He is the most successful OMS driver, has won the championship in an OMS. We've got a red flag out at the moment. As Wallace Ming is, I can see him in front of me in that glorious red Gould with the fluorescent yellow wheels. He's heading down towards the start. There he is, our 4 times champion. Yeah, I did mention about the red kites, didn't I, earlier? So we've got, saw one just now. This wind, they sort of hang in the wind there. Right, so have we got, yes, so Harry Pick, I think might have had a moment. So they'll be dealing with that. Now I also see so we're coming towards, but we're not at the end of, the first practice runs of the afternoon. I had the Porsches earlier, so just having a look through some of these times here. So in the single seaters there, 53.50 for Morgan Jenkins in the Pilbeam. Sandra would be pleased to see that Pilbeam going so well. Pilbeam MD97. and 115 through the speed trap. So that's the quickest we've seen today, but not necessarily not the quickest time of the day. But it matters not, because tomorrow is when it really matters, when they'll be qualifying for runners. Here comes Harry Pick. Maybe had a mechanical problem down the hill, but anyway, the car's been driven up towards the finish, so we won't be long before we'll be releasing off the start again, and we'll be back in action. So actually, we've got, I can just see here now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 OMSs, OMS 28s in various specs, but the OMS is the 28 is the latest spec one. I think most of the ones I'm seeing there have got the all carbon tubs, so they are the real big things. They can fit them with motorbike engines, or they can fit them with V8s. It's whatever the customer wants, basically. But Trevor Willis's car, and Trevor, last time I was here on the British Hillclimb Championship, came runner-up on those runoffs. And his car is quite an elderly car. I think he won the championship in about, don't quote me, but I think about 2017 in that car. And it's got a motorbike engine, basically 2 V4 Yamaha engines put together, and I think it was made by Radicals. It's called the Radical engine. Anyway, very rapid bit of kit. Not got the horsepower of some of the later runners, but nevertheless, with Trevor's driving it, it's always super competitive. He's an instructor. I've seen him instructing at Shelsley Walsh when they have the drivers' schools, and Trevor is one great driver. We call him Scary Trev. He started off his racing career in a Westfield and did extremely well before progressing to the single-seaters. But we're back in action, folks. We've got Jack Cottrell on the hill. Jack is out today in his Dallara. Dallara is an Italian manufacturer of racing cars. This one is, I think, half and half. I think it's got a Dallara front on it and something else at the back. It's got a Cosworth Indy V8 engine in it. Jack is a young driver. He's the son of Jack Cottrell and Nicky Cottrell. And through the speed trap there at 115, I think. Was it 125? Hang on, no way, can it be? Maybe we'll find out. Oh yeah, it says 125 through the speed trap. So that is by far the quickest we've seen today. He has finished in a time of 51:20, so that's a quick run. Well done, young Jack. He'll definitely be wanting to be a proper contender in the runoff. I think he was 5th or 6th last time I came here in the British Hillclimb Championship runoff. So he's going to be a contender. That looks to me like the Tilly Coultry's quarry there, leaving the line now. Is that Nicola? Or I think it's David Uren who's sharing it with Nicola Mingers. Anyway, this is the Gould GR55, David Uren. He's heading on his way down to Chippies. Very successful car indeed. Got a fantastic Cosworth V8 engine in the back of it. Although it's an older car, he's very successful in this car. I've seen him do some stunning times in it, and he will definitely want to be getting in the top 5 or 6 tomorrow. He has the potential to win it on the day, who knows, but it is an older car, but very well driven, absolutely flying now. So that was 122 or 27 through the speed trap, so the times are getting very rapid indeed. Going up, yes, 127 through the speed trap. So if you look from where I'm looking down on the hill from the top, the speed trap is just down below me, halfway up that straight there. As Trevor Willis comes into view in the OMS, little slide out of Farmhouse, puts the power down. 121 through the speed trap. So actually this is quick stuff now. This is quick stuff. They're approaching 130 miles an hour, David Uren, through the speed trap there. So the track must be fairly dry. The times, what do we got? So David Uren did a 51.34. Trevor Willis has just finished. Not seen the finish time yet. Will Hall, here comes Will Hall in the brand new gold, absolutely fabulous bit of kit, 113 through the speed trap. This is the latest gold GR59, runs the big Judd V8 engine in the back of this one. Will has been a serious contender. I think he's currently tying for second place in the championship this year. So, talented driver, great to see him in a car that can do his talents justice. Alex Summers is on the hill. You'll hear the firestorm. You can hear it now. Here it comes into Orchard, into the back straight, come past Farmhouse, up Farmhouse straight, round Farmhouse Bend. Here comes Alex Summers, currently leading the championship by 16 points. Screaming engine in the back of that one. 121 for Trevor. Alex. Information. Okay, so Matthew Ryder's on the hill. He's currently the fastest on the hill today, 46.66. Current hill record holder. Here he comes now into Farmhouse. Very speedy young driver. That car is absolutely flying. 120 odd through the speed trap. Oh, what's happened to Alex Summers' time? I'm not getting any time for Alex Summers. Trevor Willis is finished. Not got a time for Trevor. Will Hall has gone past us. Finished, but not getting a time for that. Okay, so we've got champ on the hill, Wallace Mingus. The Gold GR59, this stunning looking car. Doesn't this look amazing? Fabulous. Look at the fluorescent wheels, the red colour scheme. Incredible bit of kit. Wow. 100 odd miles an hour through the speed trap. Dialing it in for tomorrow. He's had a few problems this year, 1 or 2 offs, and so the car has been rebuilt. He had a big off at Crogantlet. Anyway, he's back in the game. A 4 times champion, and who's to write him off? Not me. Okay, it looks to me like Richard George he's down at the bottom. Have we got a problem at the top of the hill? I think we may have a problem at the top of the hill because he's going very steady. The wind is absolutely whistling at the moment. Got the long grass in front of the commentary hut, and it's a classic English scene of tops of the grass. Looks absolutely fabulous, being flattened by the wind. Right, so whether there's been a problem with some of the single-seaters up at the finish, I can't see, but what I'm not getting, I've got Richard George just taking it steady. So I'm not seeing what's happened to Alex Summers. I've got a time for Alex Summers of 50.12. I've got Matthew Ryder did a 49.14. And Wallace Mingus did a 50.57, and then Richard George did a 69.73. So the fastest car through the speed trap so far has been David Uren in the venerable Gould GR59.55, as Roger Deans goes by in that lovely old Lola T142 Formula 5000 car. And he'll be followed by Hayden Spedding in the Jaguar E-Type, and then he'll be followed by Harry Pick in the OMS. So here comes Richard Spedding. It's dry now, the sun's out, much more pleasant than we had earlier. We had some pretty unpleasant weather when it was raining quite hard. Will you excuse me a minute? I'm going to switch the comms off and have a slurp of some orange. OMS. 109 through the speed trap. So the quickest this afternoon is I've got, oh, that's off the screen now. No, Trevor Willis was in the 49s. Matthew Ryder did a 49.14. So the track looks to be pretty dry now, and the times are back to where we were this morning when we had a dry track. So that's pretty good news. So what do we got for you now? Okay. Down, there's not too many cars down in the queue going down to the start at the moment, but as long as we've got a few down there, that's all that matters. Marshals are getting ready to release something. Okay, I see something happening down at a farmhouse there. Right, just a slight delay, folks, while we get back into action. I see there is a car down there at Country, just going very slowly. The marshals are stopped by it. Whether or not that was a problem car or that gets a rerun, I don't know. Or is that a course car? I suspect that could be a course car. Stopping at all the marshals' posts, yeah. Updating them on something. So if you've not watched the British Hillclimb Championship before, today, if you're watching on the live stream, welcome to it. Please like and subscribe. Rich should be very pleased. The more subscribers, I think he's up to about 13 or 14,000 at the moment. Subscribers, free subscribers. It's free to subscribe, and if you want to contribute to the channel, you can also do that on a monthly basis, starting from just 99 pence a month. So it's amazing. So that all helps basically to bring the coverage as Rich travels around the countryside with Eleanor, his partner. And I was chatting to them up earlier today. They got the motorhome at the top of the hill there with all the electric gizmos they need to bring the coverage, and then it's there's a live feed that needs a live power, which they've got into the van, and they got their little dog with them as well, which he's not allowed out, so he's got to stay by the motorhome there because there's no dogs allowed on the hill. You can't have a dog running around the hill with racing cars. So here comes, looks like one of the course cars is stopping at all the marshals' posts, updating them on something or other, or checking they're all right. It's not giving them any water or anything like that, but I'm seeing quite a lot of cars now going down towards the start, the main Porsche contenders, heading down that way. So we've got a windy day today in North Yorkshire. It's windy, occasionally it's wet, but I think hopefully the rain has blown away, and we will carry on with some more hill climbing very, very shortly. So where's our course car now? He's sort of now heading up towards the finish. So whatever he's telling them, I don't know, but hopefully means that we're going to be back hill climbing again very shortly. So in this Porsche class that we've got coming up, we've got quite a variation of Porsches. We've got the much later GT3s and GT4s, much bigger engines in those. Most of those are water-cooled engines, which Porsche decided to change from the famous air-cooled engines. The first water-cooled engine, I believe, was the 996 in 1998. And a lot of Porsche aficionados would probably prefer an air-cooled version, but they cost, well, crazy money now. They're fetching 100,000 plus, some of them. Some a lot more than that. But the later ones, obviously, with the more modern engines, they're now running over 4 litres. Most of them with 6-cylinder water-cooled engines. Some of them are getting like 500 horsepower. But Robbie Birrell in that class, he's not racing in the Porsche Championship, but Robbie Birrell is out amongst those big tin tops later on. Robbie, we saw earlier, Robbie's got a 4-cylinder engine in his, and it's got over 500 horsepower. It's a very, very serious car indeed. with Robbie is a tremendous driver as well. So Robbie, watch out for him later on. I think he's in his Cayman, silver Cayman. So lots of cars going down to the start now. We're back in action, folks. We've got Richard Mullet in his Radical PR6. This Radical is a standard 1300cc Hayabusa job. It's got no fancy turbochargers or superchargers on it. I think he was telling me that this was the car that got rebuilt. He had quite an accident on it, and if I just go to my notes now, yeah, he's from Kincardine on 4th in Scotland. It's a 1340 Radical, a motorbike engine, and it got rebuilt, but it's now back good as gold, looking good, and enjoying his racing again. Here he comes now. 75 miles an hour up the straight. He'll be followed by Maggie Richards in the Renault Clio RS200. Maggie Richards, she's from Churchdown. I think that could be Churchdown, Gloucester. Anyway, she's in the little Clio RS200. Very popular, these little Clios now, for hill climbing. It's a relatively affordable way of getting into hill climbing. A lot of them race the 172s and the 182s, which is the previous body shape. And excuse me one second. So I was just chatting to Ellie Taylor there, and she's just been down to the farmhouse. One of the cameras or bags had blown out of position, so she's just taking a roll of gaffer tape down with her. Anyway, we're back in action. We've got the David Dyson in the 911 GT3. David, I think, was the quickest of the runners earlier today. Let's have a little look. Sorry, I got that wrong. David Hilton was the quickest earlier, and David Dyson was third. We've got the 996 approaching of David Hilton. Here it is. This is a highly developed 996. When you look at it in the paddock, it's really stripped out in the car. It's got very potent. I think it's got a 3.6 engine in the back of that one. Beautiful car. And he was the quickest. In fact, he's done a 62.76 this afternoon. So he leads the way in the Porsche Cars Championship, as Chris Milne comes into view in the Boxster S. Definitely a much less developed car, that one. Some of these will have been driven here today. He's off up towards the finish. So Chris Milne, he done 70.71 this morning. As we get Richard Andrews comes by in the 718 GT4. This is the latest generation Porsche Richard Andrews. This one, 718 actually. The 718 GT4 is the latest 4-litre job. Robbie Birrell's car is a 2.5 litre turbo one. But anyway, we've also got Graham Rose is the 924S. This is a highly developed 924. It looks very much like a 944 because the bodywork's been all extended on it, but very well developed, and I believe that one is a supercharged car. It is a supercharged car of Graham Rose. As Stephen Jory comes into view in the beautiful little 944. This one's got front engine, and it's a 3-litre 6-cylinder. No, I think it's a 3-litre 4-cylinder car, because they did various denominations of engines, starting off with a 2.5-litre 4-cylinder turbo. Oh, well, I got to tell you, this one coming into view now is one of my absolute favourites. This is Mel Spear in the 964 Carrera 2 Cup car. If you want a classic 911, you won't get much prettier than that. No spoiler on it, no whale tail, but what a lovely... Oh, it has got a small spoiler on the back. Anyway, Mel Spear's off up towards the finish. The wind is howling. My little commentary boxes are blowing. Hopefully I'm not going to blow away. It's been here quite a while, so there's a good chance it should be all right. Ian Wadsworth goes by in the 911 SC, glorious looking car, heads up towards the finish now. He'll be followed by Geraint Evans in the Porsche Carrera 3 litre, another stunning looking Porsche. So here comes Geraint Evans in the 911 3 litre Carrera. This is absolutely stunning. Look at that. If you want to take a 911 home, you want to take that one. Look at the silver colour scheme on that. Just brilliant. Just brilliant. I dread to think how much that car is worth. A pretty penny, I can tell you that much. Wayne Eason is on the hill. He's in the Porsche Boxster. Now, Wayne was very quick. He was 4th quickest this morning with a 64. And here he comes now around Farmhouse. Wayne's driving his little Porsche Boxster, 4-cylinder engine in the back of it. Well, I think you might be calling it mid-engine, but either way, very rapid. And he'll be followed by David Garnett, who comes up from Cheltenham Way in his Fiat Abarth. So, just looking through some of the times. So the quickest Porsche through the speed trap, by the way, was Richard Andrews in the 718 GT4. That was 86 miles an hour. So that's pretty rapid, isn't it? But that's a highly developed car and with lots and lots of horsepower. There goes David Garnett in the Fiat Abarth, the 595 Abarth. He's through the speed trap at 61 miles an hour, little turbocharged Fiat. And he will be followed by Carol Nichols in a Nike Mark IV. This is the little Formula Ford, little yellow one. She goes all over the country in this car. Little 1600 Formula Ford. And when you look at her driving style, she always sits back in the seat with her head back and her hands out. Bit Jimmy Clark style, really. Here comes Carol, the Formula Ford. Great competitor, misses a gear there. 54, so I think little gear change problem there. Barry Holt is coming towards us in the little Rover Mini. This is a lovely little Mini, the later body shell Mini. Modern body shell really, but pre the BMW Minis. Through the speed trap. We'll be followed by Jamie Stocks in the GR Yaris, modern Yaris, this very successful car for Toyota. I don't think they ever dreamt it could be. It was really designed more for a homologation special, so they could compete in the World Rally Championship. See it down there now. It's down there, down at Country Corner, heading up towards Willow. Up towards Orchard. Very sophisticated bit of kit, the Yaris. It's got all sorts of fancy stuff on there. Lots of fancy electrics, 4-wheel drive, adjustable suspension, turbocharger, 1600cc, got about 260 brake horsepower in a little tiny car. Very, very quick road car and very good on the hills too. We're now into some of Caterham's. So this is we're in the BARC Connaught Speed Championship, and currently the quickest was Stephen Mallet with a 59.83. Chris Bramall did a 65.93, and Chris Bramall is on the hill at the moment. Roger Legg has just gone by me. Roger Legg did a 68 this morning. So Chris Bramall in the Caterham Super 7 Z-Tech. Here he comes now. It's heading on his way up towards Farmhouse Bend. Here he comes round now. This has got some nice silver bodywork on it, red nose on it. Chris Bramall did a 65.93 this morning. What's he going to do for us this afternoon? And he'll be followed by Glenn Shaw in his Nissan 350Z. So just looking at our finish times there. So Chris Bramall finished in a 64.79. Roger Legg in a 69.76. James Stocks in the Yaris a 69.98. Barry Holt in the Rover Mini 73.66. So Stephen Mallet still leads the way in that class with a 59.83. Glenn Shaw is on the hill in the Nissan 350Z, and Justin Andrews in the Subaru Impreza has just started. So the sun's out, not too many spectators today. It's a practice day today, but tomorrow it all starts in earnest for the time runs for the big boys as Glenn Shaw goes by us, and we're waiting now for Justin Andrews. So Glenn Shaw, he did a 66.63 this morning. Glenn has gone through the finish in a 67.31. Though he's not as quick as he was this morning. Justin Andrews comes into view in his Subaru Impreza. Lots of Imprezas on the hills. Yeah, lots of it. Yeah, that don't. Yeah, in black. It's always sometimes hard to see all the detail on the car, but the Impreza goes through to the finish in a 65.84. Stephen Mallett's on his way to us now in his little Radical. Here comes Stephen. Nicely turned out car, that one too. Stephen is in the Connaught Speed Championship. Well, and he did a 59.83. Heading off towards the finish in a 57.95, so he improves quite a lot on nearly 2 seconds quicker than this morning. Ian Richards is heading up towards us in the Renault Clio RS200 Cup car, on his way round Orchard now, Farmhouse Straight. Looks very windy out there at the moment. He's going pretty slowly around Farmhouse, taking his time. Currently he's the only one on the hill. Heads off up towards the finish. Now we'll be expecting some more cars to head down to the start. I think we're into our second practice runs now. Second this afternoon anyway. Right, we're back in the game. We've got Ewan Bruce in his MG, car 738, the MG ZR. Yeah, I think these are the last of the second practice run, the first practice run this afternoon. Here he comes now. Farmhouse. Just a little 1400cc engine in that one, and it's Yorkshire members into club licence holders. The quickest has been Vaughan Matthews, 66.54, with Pete Vincent second, 75.52. These were times this morning, so in fairness, that Ewan Bruce was the first of the, still in the first round. Chris Donaldson on the hill, the Rover Mini. He's currently down approaching the S's. And with Harewood, you can look from the top here and you can see it, you can have up to 4 cars on the hill at once, so it can get pretty busy. At the moment, we've just got the 1 car on the hill. squeal of those tyres. It sounds like he's on road tyres. Sound is really carrying on the wind today. So we've got another car leaving the line, Richard Greenwood in the Renault Twingo GT. Richard in the Twingo, that's only a 1200cc car, but it's got a turbocharger on it, and he comes from Doncaster. Here comes the Mini of Chris Donaldson. Flat out through the speed trap as fast as he can get it to go. 60 odd miles an hour through the speed trap. One of my favourites getting ready to go. So we've got the Twingo on the hill, and we've got Alexander Hall on the hill in the Mazda MX-5. So here comes a little Twingo, little Renault. Little turbocharged engine in it. Small but pretty nippy little things. 65 through the speed trap. The Mazda's on the hill, the MX-5, which... Oh, did he spin it going through the finish there? Goodness me, that looked close. Oh, they're just replaying it now. Coming in towards the finish. Onto the grass, does spin it through the finish. Guess. Oh, yeah, bit of a moment there, through the finish there. But anyway, the Mazda MX-5, here it comes now. Just coming, got the sunroof down, the open top. As James Izzard in another Mazda MX-5 is on the hill, and the big Volvo 850 T5 of Martin Hindley is also on the hill down at the bottom near the S's. So who would ever have thought a Volvo would make a good hill climb car? Well, this is a beautifully developed old car. Here's the MX-5 of James Izzard. Told they're the biggest selling sports car of all time, and it's 68 miles an hour through the speed, 69 through the speed trap. So the Volvo is just coming into view now at auction, coming down the back straight here, down through Farmhouse now. Just the job, come to Harewood, do the hill climb, load up the Labradors, go home. Marvellous job. Great, no. That yellow colour scheme has been painted in that colour. If you watch one of these T5s, this is the colour that everybody wants. That's the most popular colour, which is unlikely, but in fairness, they certainly stand out, and you pay a big premium to have it in that colour, or find an original car with that yellow colour scheme. Not sure of the exact terminology of the colour, but anyway, we got Graham Cressy in the BMW. Oh, he spins it out of Farmhouse. He just gets it back on the track. He's in the BMW i30 injection. So he's had quite a moment there, but he managed to keep it all together. And no damage done. It will be followed by Pasquale Abruzzese. And he's in his M3 3.2 Evo BMW. Graham Cressy did a 65.20. Pasquale is coming, here he comes now. Says he's a property developer in my notes, but I believe he's an engineer. Anyway, regular competitor in the Harewood Championship. And today he's in the BARC Yorkshire members Interclub. It's the Interclub. So he goes top with a 66.19. Well done to him. So he goes into the lead on that run. As we see Richard Patterson in this very nice raw striker. This is Vauxhall red top in the front of it, 2 litre power. Very rapid thing. He was telling me, I said, is there much difference between these and the Caterhams and the Westfield? And we think that the wheelbase is a little bit shorter. He thinks it makes the car a little bit more planted. Anyway, Richard Patterson goes top with a 63.29. And he'll be followed by Peter Vincent in this beautiful little Vauxhall VX220. Here he comes now. 2.2 16-valve Vauxhall engine, mid-mounted in the back there. Very rapid little bit of kit. Heading off up towards the finish. As Adam Warren is on the hill in his glorious Escort. I think if Adam's not mistaken, it's in the orange one. He is in the orange Mark 1. Have a look at this. You see it going down Farmhouse Straight now. Beautifully, beautifully turned out car. Oh, he stops at Farmhouse. What's happened there? Okay. He got a bunch of neutrals, or has he got it going? Making it steady. I know he's got a 2-litre Cosworth engine in the front of that. So, bagged by the marshals, or was he? He got a problem. But look at that, in mint car, isn't it? Just lovely. Okay, we've got another Mark 1 Escort on the hill as well of Derek Jones. He'll get a rerun. I don't know quite what happened at Farmhouse there, but he certainly came to a fairly quick stop and then got going again, so might have been a little technical issue. So, where are we at this afternoon? So I think we're approaching the end of the first time runs for this afternoon, so we will probably then do it all again. And we've got the Porsche and the Interclub time runs this afternoon, and all the British Hillclimb contenders, they're just purely on a practice day. Then tomorrow they will get deadly serious, have one more practice run, then they'll do time runs. Then the quickest 12 cars will do the first of the runoffs, which will be just after lunch, as will the top 10 tin toppers will also have a runoff, when the likes of Damien Bradley, Stephen Moore, Jim Herbert, Robbie Birrell, Simon Bainbridge in the Kronos will all be contending. Right, so it's looking to me like the Mark 1 Escort is getting a rerun because he's going back down to the start, unless he's going to do 2 runs very quickly. Matthew Vaughan's away. Matthew Vaughan's in the Westfield. Matthew, this is the shared drive car that he's out with Tom Vaughan, and the car is owned by Dad. I didn't realise earlier that they were brothers, but I'm pretty sure they are. Anyway, so Matthew, he's from Halifax, and it's got a little 1800cc Ford Z-Tech engine in the front. Very lightweight little cars, great handling cars, lots and lots of fun to drive. And I think Dad's had this car for some while, but Dad is not driving it today. So I don't know who's the quickest between Matthew and Tom. I will find out about that later on, whether they are brothers. I didn't twig that bit earlier. Mick Davies on the hill in his Escort Mark II, and Alan Scott in the Mini Gem will be following him. So the Escort Mark II, yeah, this is the Mick Davey, here he comes now. This is the ex-rally car that's been converted into a hill climb car. He's had this for a long, long time. Used to drive it through the forests, used to drive it on tarmac, but now he's hill climbing it now, and he's our famous white van driver who delivers the glass. In fact, he's got his white van up in the paddock towing the car. When I say glass, I'm talking about great big pieces too. Here's a little Mini Gem. This is Alan Scott in the Mini Gem. So a Mini Gem was, I think these were developed by Marcus Cars. I may be wrong, but I think these were built near Westbury in Wiltshire. This particular one, little tiny car, but it's got a little Mini A-series engine in the front of it. It's very, very low to the ground. They go extremely well. And usually, I think it's a fiberglass body on that one. Anyway, so just looking at some times here, we're in the Yorkshire Members Interclub licence holders. Pete Vincent was the quickest earlier with a 63.14. As Glenn Collier comes up towards us in the Davrian. Little rear engine, imp engine car, fiberglass body, built in Wales back in the day. He's he's off towards the finish. So, and he'll be followed by Derek Jones in a beautiful Mark 1 Escort. This one really took my eye earlier. This is the white one. Stunning, isn't it? That big winged Mark 1 Escort in white. Spent quite a long time when he got the car, sort of dealing with some rust issues and stuff like that, but now he's developed that into a lovely little car. It handles beautifully, sits down beautifully actually when he's cornering. He'll be followed by Adam Warren in another Ford Escort, and this one is the RS 2000 version. This is the orange one that we saw earlier. Cosworth engine, so it's got a later Cosworth engine in it. So these Mark 1 RS 2000s would have had the Pinto engine in them originally, or they might have had the 16-valve BDA engines, the RS 1600s. Anyway, that one's off to the finish. So Pete Vincent, just looking at some times here, still leads the way with a 63.14. Adam Warren has finished. Adam has done. No, just look at the times, 76, 9, 7, Nice. He's 6:31 for Mick Davey in the Escort. We're updated here, 63. So Adam Warren did a 70 point, so we haven't got the times for the second. Right, hang on, we're moving on. We're back to the, so Pete Vincent at 63.14. Richard Patterson at 63.29, Pasquale Abruzzese at 66.19, Mick Davey 66.31, Matthew Vaughan 66.54, Derek Jones a 69.32, James Izzard a 69.51, Adam Warren a 70.10, and Martin Hindley a 70.13. So that was the Yorkshire Club licence holders. It was Alexander Hall did a 72.63. 11th was Glenn Collier a 73.07. 12th was Alan Scott a 73.45. 13th was Richard Greenwood a 74.61. Graham Cressy was 14th with a 75.20. Chris Donaldson 76.10. Tom Vaughan 76.75. Ewan Bruce was a 77.87, and Anthony Spate was an 84.62. Okay, so currently we have no cars on the hill. I'm not seeing much down at the start at the moment, so looks like we've got a slight delay, but I'm seeing cars going down now. I've got the car 74 of the Radical. There goes the little Clio again. Yeah, so we got the Porsches going back down. Car 161, 162, the very quick 996, 162 there. The box to 163. So yeah, it looks like the Porsches are going down to have another play. So they'll be concluding their time runs, I think. Who's going to come out top? We'll find out very, very shortly. Weather hasn't changed. It's still windy, but it is dry and the sun is out. So that's all good. But we are in North Yorkshire. It is quite famous. There's a lot of hills up here. We got up in the Dales further up. Big high ground. Beautiful scenery. North Yorkshire. Yorkshire's a stunning county. Beautiful place. Not visited here. It's well worth a visit. To Harewood Hillclimb and to Yorkshire for a holiday. Fantastic. So, I'm just looking now, we've got the British Hillclimb Championship events. So, so far this season, we're now about halfway through the season. We had a bit of a slow start this year where events got cancelled because of very wet weather. We had, basically, it was a problem not so much with the hills, but with the problem was with spectator parking. The parking was flooded on the grass and stuff like that. So we've already been to Crogantlet in Northern Ireland. The second meeting was here at Harewood, 12th of May. Then we went to Gurston Down the 25th and 26th of May. 1st and 2nd of June, we went to Shelsley Walsh in Worcestershire. Then we went to 15th and 16th of June, we went to Doon in Perthshire. So here today, 6th and 7th of July, we will be here at Harewood. Then the cars go off to the Channel Islands on the 17th of July to Booley Bay in Jersey. And then a few days later, they stay in Channel Islands, they go to Booley Bay and then to Val de Terre in Guernsey. So they go over to the other big island. Then the 27th and 28th of July, we are in Devon, East Devon at Wiscombe Park, which is a fabulous hill. I should be there, not in a commentary role, I'm just going down to watch. It'll be brilliant. Little estate down there. Then we're back to Shelsley Walsh on the 10th and 11th of August. Shelsley Walsh is the oldest hill climb venue in the world. It's in the Team Valley in Worcestershire, not far from my humble abode. And then we're back off to Prescott for a rearranged British that would have been earlier in the year. Prescott would have opened up proceedings, but it was too wet. So that's the 17th and 18th of August. And then the 7th and 8th of August would have been the scheduled Prescott meeting, which is now scheduled for that day, which is always scheduled, if you can follow that. So we've got rescheduled 17th and 18th of August, then back in September to Prescott. Then 14th and 15th of September, we're back up to Doon in Scotland, in Perthshire. Incredible hill. They were there a week or two back, and it was an absolutely incredible event. Then we will have the decider. Well, the championship might have been already decided by then, I don't know. 28th and 29th of September, we're back to Loughton Park in Shropshire, near Shrewsbury. Loughton Park is running an old deer park, which is a current deer park, and basically it runs up through a load of trees. They get some amazing speed up through the trees, and it's just a fabulous hill, and the deer seem to manage to stay out of the way most of the time. They seem to have learned, don't get in the way of fast hill climb cars. And of course, if you're a driver, seeing a deer on track won't be the biggest thrill you ever have in your life. Well, it might be a bit of a scary thrill. So yeah, so that's the rest of the season. So we're about probably a little bit more than halfway through, well, getting that way. Either way, plenty of rounds to come. So we're off to the Channel Islands next. Then we're off to the Wiscombe in Devon. And if any of you come from that neck of the woods, and obviously that's in East Devon, not far from Sidmouth. Absolutely beautiful part of the world. And the Wiscombe round's always a bit special. Very friendly down there, good spectating facilities too. Like most of our hills, to be fair, you can get incredibly close to the action. Don't forget that if you went to Silverstone or any of these big circuits, you're blooming stuck up on grandstands miles from anywhere, aren't you? And if you've got a windy day like today, you get blown away as well. So come hill climbing instead, where you can also walk around the paddocks, which is amazing, isn't it? Because you try walking around the paddock at Silverstone, it's not going to happen unless you've got some super duper fancy pass. So you can walk around the cars, you can have a look at them, chat to the drivers. They're a very friendly lot, and as long as they're not preparing to go on a run, have a chat with them and they'll tell you all about what they've got. It's a very, very friendly sport. That basically they all help each other out, and if somebody can't get to the start because they need a part, they'll all rummage around together trying to get that competitor on the hill, even though they're a rival. They just help each other out. That's the way it is. So anyway, I'm just seeing the odd car going to the start. I don't know what the delay is at the moment. Sure, we won't be long before we're back into action. I'm just going to switch off a minute and have a little drink of orange because I get a bit parched doing this job. Okay, well, I don't quite know what the little delay is at the moment. Everybody seems to be on post still, but no doubt all will be revealed in a bit. Yeah, all is quiet at this moment. I'm just looking around, seeing what I can see. Can I see any red kites? I can see quite a few other things flying about, but I can't see any of our famous red kites. But no doubt they'll be around at the end of the meeting looking for those scraps. But it's very quiet up on because today has been a practice day. We don't have loads of spectators here today. I think they'll be turning up tomorrow. And at Harewood, most of the people stand at the top of the hill here. It's really good spectator viewing. And you're actually looking down on the hill. Some of the hills we go to, you're actually, like Chelsea Walsh, you have to walk up the hill to see stuff. Whereas here, you start at the top of the hill, and then anywhere you want to go, you walk down to it. Car parks being at the top. But great viewing facilities here all around the hill, to be fair. Lots of lovely unique spots. And yeah, so I see all the marshals on post here. Looking down at the start line. We got anything ready to go? So the sun's out, the clouds are scudding across the sky. The wind is blowing pretty hard today, pretty breezy. I don't know what the weather forecast is for tomorrow, but I think we might get a mixed day. So what we want is a dry day. Above all, we want a dry day. The wind we can handle, but wind and rain, or worse, we're not so keen on. But earlier in the year, we had events cancelled basically because we'd had such a wet spring and winter that everywhere was waterlogged. And one of the hills I go to, Prescott, in near Cheltenham. I see cars going to the start, so it won't be long, folks. Yeah, we had to cancel the event because the car parking area was just like flooded. You just couldn't even drive 4x4s through it. So part of the scheme was building a new big drainage ditch, which we did, and now that's sorted that problem out. We're back in action, folks. We got Richard Mallet in the Radical. Richard Mallet. Okay, these little Radicals. These are purpose-built little sports cars. They're very, very small and light. Nearly all the Radicals tend to run motorbike engines. And the engine of choice tends to be the Suzuki Hayabusa engine, which is fitted in Suzuki motorbikes, but people take them out of those and put them in little racing cars, and very, very successful they are too. And this one's no exception. You can hear they're high revving little engines, they're fast revving engines, they're lightweight engines, so that little Radical, that just looks the part, doesn't it? And if I'm right in saying Richard Mallet, I think he's the gentleman that comes from Scotland. Now, let me have a look. Richard Mallet does a 66.55 in the Radical, as Maggie Richards follows in her Renault Clio, coming up towards Farmhouse now. Comes Maggie Richards, going a bit better than she did earlier. Well done, Maggie. Maggie Richards is car 875 and will be followed by David Dyson, first of our Porsche contenders, 161 in the Porsche 911 GT3. So David Dyson goes up to 84 mile an hour through the speed trap. Maggie Richards finishes in a 75.78, and Richard Mallet in the Radical finished in a 66.55. So David Dyson finishes in a 63.57, but the very quick man, which is David Hilton now. So David Hilton, I think, was quickest earlier, did a 62.76. Anyway, he's in that very, very rapid 996 stripped out car. He's just done a 63.19, so he hasn't improved on his time. Chris Milne in the Boxster. Chris was one of our. He was towards the back end of the Porsche pack earlier. So David Hilton, is 83 through the trap, 63.19, but still the quickest of the Porsche runners. No, David, yeah, still the quickest of the Porsche runners this afternoon, and that's second run. As Richard Andrews goes by in the 718 GT4, very rapid. This is the latest Spec 1, the 4-litre version. So can he improve on his time? He can. Richard Andrews goes quickest now, 62.63 to take him into the lead of the Porsches. So Richard leads with a 62.63 from David Hilton with a 62.76. As the 924S of Graham Rose goes by, and will be followed by the 944 of Stephen Jory. So Graham Rose goes through to the finish. Graham Rose does a 67.58 to put him in 8th place, as Stephen Jory goes by in the 944. So, at the moment, Andrews leads the way, and Stephen Jory, you naughty boy, he's just had a finish spin. Well, that was quite spectacular, folks. Again, when they approach Quarry Bend right at the finish, it really tightens up on him. It's terribly tricky. Anyway, he had a moment, so have they red flagged? No, they haven't red flagged Mel Spear. So here, that's Ian Wadsworth just heading up towards the finish in the 911. What's happened to Mel Spear in the right? Okay, that's right. A little bit of. So that's Geraint Evans has just gone by me. We had Ian Wadsworth go by before, and then we had Mel Spear finished in a time of 56. No, he didn't finish in a time of 56.55. No, we haven't got a finishing time for him. So that was Stephen Jory had to spin up at the top there. So I think what will happen is some of these runs will be not failures, they'll get a rerun. Okay, so they're going to be just sorting that problem of the Porsche up at the finish. Spun, then disappeared out of our view. So we've got waiting on the line, Wayne Eason waiting on the line. So while they sort that lot out, so I don't have any other finish times at the moment. So currently in the Porsche Championship, Richard Andrews leads the way. That's with a 62.63 from David Hilton in the 996, and David Dyson 63.57, and Wayne Eason from his run earlier did a 64.81. He's on the line waiting to go, while more Porsches go down, more cars go back down to the line. I see the Radical going back down for another run. I think that's a shared car, little Renault Clio. But hopefully it won't be long. Right, okay, we've got finishing here. So they're showing us that Mel Spear finished in a 67.31. Ian Wadsworth in the 911 finished in a 65.82. Geraint Evans in a 66.39. Stephen Jory, he got a failure, so he was the one that spun up at the finish. Certainly trying hard. So it shouldn't be long now before we're back in business. We get some more action. Plenty of cars ready to go. Yeah. See the marshals getting around the back of Wayne Eason's car. He's away. Wayne's away. So we're back in the game, folks. Yeah, our little moment of spinach was dealt with. And now Wayne Eason is having a go and seeing if he can improve on his 4th position of the morning, where he did a 64.81. Good time in that little car. Righto, so he's gone down through the S's. Where is he now? Here he comes now. He's down at Country Corner. Just looking, so they've just released, so he's come out of Country and they've just released David Garnett in the theatre bath, or A bath as I'm told it's called. But Wayne, competitive driver. Just looking at his sectors now, he's going very well indeed. Here he goes through the speed trap there at 74 miles an hour. Can he get himself round to the finish? Looking good, promising. Yes, I think he can. The Wayne's about to finish there, and he finishes in a time of 64.77. 64.77 keeps him in 4th place. So looking at that lot, I think most of them have done their runs. Some have improved on their runs, but still leading the way is Stephen. We're now in the Connaught Speed Championship. Stephen Mallett's leading the way there. David Garnett did a 75.49 earlier, so he was in 10th position in that Connaught Speed Championship. He'll be followed by Carol Nichols. Carol Nichols did a 76.79. Here she comes in, her little Formula Ford. I'm not quite sure how they run this championship in the respect. I don't think it's handicapped. They seem to be going on neat times anyway, and there's a real mixture of cars in here as well. So here comes Carol, will be followed by James Stocks in the little Yaris, the GR Yaris. James earlier, he did a 69.98 and he was in 7th position in that class. And he'll be followed by Roger Legg in a Caterham 7. Now Roger was in 6th position earlier and he did a 68.15 is his best so far. Engine sounds very, very crisp on that little car. Very nice indeed. And we're looking then for Chris Bramall in the Caterham Super 7 Z-Tech. Here comes Chris. So Chris Bramall was 2nd in class in this one earlier with a 64.79. Can he improve on that? As Glenn Shaw comes approaching Farmhouse, through the farmhouse now in the Nissan. Chris Bramall doesn't improve. He does a 64.89, but he's still 2nd in class with a 64.79. Stephen Mallett leads the way with a 57.95. So we've got Chris Donaldson in the Rover Mini Mainstream Cooper. Quite a standard looking Mini, really squealing on the tyres there. So Chris Donaldson earlier did a 76.10, put him 15th in the class. Through to the finish. Will be followed by Richard Greenwood in the little Twingo, 75.35. That does improve on his previous time. So Richard Greenwood in the Twingo. He was in 13th place. He did a 74.61. He's done a 72.98, so he does improve on his time, but he stays in 11th place. One of the Mazda MX-5s here of Alexander Hall. Alexander Hall earlier, he did. He was in 10th earlier with a 72.14. That's what he's just done now. He's just done a 72.14, so he has improved on his time. He started off with an 82nd run, so he's improved by about 8 seconds through the day. James Izzard goes through to the finish, and here comes the big Volvo T5 Estate. Martin Hindley, he was 9th in the class earlier, which is no mean achievement in the big Volvo. Big heavy car. 2.4 turbocharged engine on that one. Got a camera by the look of it on the top of the door there. So Martin, what's he going to do? He is slower than he did before. He's a 70.31, so he stays ninth. Graham Cressy in the BMW was all over the place earlier. He was nearly all over the place again. Graham having a go. Yeah, Graham Cressy, he did a 75.20 earlier. And he'll be followed by Pasquale Abruzzese in the BMW M3. And he was quick. He was third quickest this morning. He's third quickest in the class. Big BMW, got some power. What's Pasquale going to do for us this afternoon? He goes through to the finish. We'll get a time shortly. We've got Richard Patterson in the very rapid raw striker. The RS5000, look at this one. This has got a Vauxhall engine in the front of it. Very quick combination, this. Nicely turned out motor car. He's done a lovely job on that one. He built that car from scratch. He's done 87 through the speed trap. He built that from a kit car, basically. Clever man. So, Pasquale, I haven't got your time, but I've got Richard Patterson's done a 63.28 to stay second in the class. Pete Vincent in the VX220 just going by me. Pete Vincent was leading the class earlier with a 63.14. I suspect he's going to be pretty much up there again with this run. He's going to finish with a 63.05, which takes him further ahead in that class. So he's knocked a few tenths off that. Adam Warren in his beautiful Ford Escort Mark 1 Cosworth engine device. Sounds absolutely terrific. Running, I think, on 45 or 48 Webers. Certainly sound the part when they got those big carbs on them. So Adam Warren, he's in Adam's in this class, and he did a 69.89, which is his best at the time of the day so far. He'll be followed by Derek Jones in the Escort Mark 1, a lovely car as well. Derek Jones earlier was in 6th place with a 69.32. He'll be thinking, can he improve on that? It looks like he's going through to the finish successfully. As Mick Davey in the ex-Rally Escort is on his way to us. Here he comes now. Very well turned out car, lots of horsepower in that engine. He was telling me it's about 300 horsepower. Wow, that's a quick car. 84 mile an hour through the speed trap. So Mick there, what's he going to do? Is he going to? He was 4th earlier, did a 66.31. Is he going to improve on that? 65.62 still keeps him 3rd in that class. As Alan Scott in the little mini Gem comes by us now. Tiny little car, rapid little thing. So Alan Scott was 14th earlier, did a 73.45. And Glenn Collier in the little Davrian Mark III. The imp engine Davrian is down there by Orchard at the moment. We'll be getting a view on him now. Here he comes now. Brown farmhouse. Tiny engine car, glass fibre body. Very early car, that one. Not many of those left. Probably the odd one still in barns, tucked away somewhere, covered in dust. Anyway, so what can he do? Glenn Collier goes off to the finish. He did a 73.07 before. He's just done a 71.06. He's taken 2 seconds off that time. Well done to him. That's moved him up to 11th in the class. And we've got Ewan Bruce in the MGZR, the 1400cc MG. So, yeah, we're getting through them thick and fast. So I'm guessing, through the program here. Thinking we're going to get some single-seaters soon. Yeah, so Ewan's on the hill. He comes, I think, from Scotland. He's 3.8. Comes through it. Ewan Bruce, yeah, he's from Inch. So I think that may well be Scotland. Anyway, here he comes into view. He looks to be the only car on the hill, and I'm not seeing many cars down at the start at the moment. So let me just have a look. So time-wise, we are... It's 4:14. Wow. Okay, I've seen another car going to the start there. So I don't know where we are exactly with the runs, but we've got cars on the hill. We've got Ewan Bruce just finished in a 76.55. Stephen Mallet in the Radical car 174 has just left the line. And Stephen is in the Connaught Speed Championship. He was leading the way earlier with a 57.95 from Chris Bramall. So, got a few cars down there. Let's see what we got. Sometimes hidden from view, tucked behind trees and stuff. Buildings. So Stephen Mallet in the little Radical. Beautiful little car, 174. Look at this, beautifully turned out. So Stephen, car 174. Numbers 174. Comes from Larbert. And he's finished in a 58.41, which is slower than he did earlier when he did a 57.95, but he still stays in the lead in that class. And we're looking for Barry Holt. Here he comes in the beautifully turned out little Rover Mini. Here, that little A series. I think he's probably got some straight cut gears in there as well. Certainly looks the part, goes well. So Barry Holt earlier did a 73.66 and was 8th in the class. And he'll be followed by Ian Richards in the Renault Clio RS200 Cup car, 72.15. So he does improve by over a second on his previous run. So it keeps him in 8th place in the Mini. As Ian Richards goes by, this is Ian Richards now. Ian is thing, probably with Maggie Richards. I don't know if they're husband or wife, I'm not sure. But either way, closely matched on their times. Ian has just posted a 73.60 to stay in 9th place. Currently, I'm not seeing a car on the hill at this second. In fact, there's nothing by the start. So, right. I think that concludes today, folks. Join us tomorrow for the British Championship. Thank you to Richard for live streaming and getting his eye in this afternoon, and I'm the same. I'm Chris Ponsford. I'm going to be signing off. I shall be back tomorrow with Steve Wilkinson. And we will bring you the British Hillclimb Championship and runoffs in both, and also the Tin Top Challenge runoffs as well. Join us tomorrow, folks. Hope you enjoyed the coverage. Thanks very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.